Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech. And today, we're going to be talking about green-white spider humans. Probably one of the more wackier decks I've ever built on the channel in terms of a name or like even just synergies, but it will make sense once the video goes along here. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this deck? Is there a specific spider or human I should have put in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. So, also before I hop into the video here, I have to give this quick, not even a disclaimer, but just note that all the MTG Arena variants of Spider-Man cards will be shared after the main board. I'm not going to talk about them as I go. It's just briefly, once I finish talking about the main board, well, I guess technically the non-land cards, I'm gonna, mention the through the Omen Paths version, so that way if you're looking to play this on Arena, you'll know what cards you're actually looking for, just to save you a little bit of time on that. But anyways, so the true inspiration for this video was, I guess, kind of Mary Jane Watson. So 2/2 for 2, whenever a spider you control enters, draw a card, and then it's a human performer. And I've been trying to look at different decks I could build from the new cards in Spider-Man. And it's very tricky because a lot of these cards are not very synergistic for the most part. But it got me thinking, what could we do to actually make this deck work? And I think we found the right deck here. So I was looking at all the different, spider cards and also, spider support cards that are in this set. And I realized, okay, I could build a human spider deck. But how do I want to do it? There's so many different ones in the set. Well, then I was looking at Aunt May and Miles Morales in this set. And I realized we could build a really, really sweet, 1/1 counter human deck. There's a lot of really good 1/1 counter shenanigans in this set. Obviously, Aunt May is like a soul sister that also can put counters on your creatures. Miles Morales enters, puts counters on creatures, and then transforms, and then gets to take advantage of all those counters. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do a green-white deck with, humans and spiders. It's going to be really, really fun. Let's go on and take a look at the rest of the deck here. So obviously we're playing Mary Jane, we're playing Aunt May, and then we're playing Miles Morales. We're also playing 4 copies of Hardened Scales, 4 copies of Experiment 1, and 4 copies of Luminarch Aspirant. So Hardened Scales, I would say, is the heart and soul of the deck just because it's turn 1, doubles over 1/1 counters, really helps us get going here. Experiment 1 loves it. We play bigger creatures, it gets 1/1 counters, and Luminarch Aspirant just is a human that also gets to spread 1/1 counters. So it really just makes sense in the entire deck. We're also playing 3 copies of Spectacular Spider-Man. I really do like this card. I mean, a 3/2 for 2 with Flash, being able to get flying until end of turn is pretty great, if our opponent doesn't have any flyers, at the very least at a board stall, we can start chipping in. But it's also great because it can protect our other creatures from a board wipe. Obviously, to having flash is pretty darn solid. So this is just a really strong raw power card. We're playing 1 copy of Spider-Girl Legacy Hero. I thought about playing more copies of this, but I ultimately decided on just 1 copy. After all, it's a human, but it's also a spider that helps us trigger Mary Jane to be able to draw some cards. But it's also just a good card, man. I turn it's flying, and when it dies, it replaces itself, sort of. I mean, it's just pretty solid. We're also playing 3 copies of Silk Web Weaver. I really like this card. If we can cast this for 3 mana, we get a 3 mana 5/3, and then whenever we cast a creature spell, we get a 1/1 green and white human citizen creature token, which is pretty darn good. You can never underestimate the cards that make human tokens. There's not that many of them, so when we do get to make them, it's pretty good. And then obviously having the Anthem effect there is just pretty solid in its own right. But we are also playing 4 copies of Coppercoat Vanguard, 4 copies of Thali's Lieutenant, and 2 copies of Get Lost. Coppercoat Vanguard, Thali's Lieutenant, obviously fantastic cards. Being able to give our other humans, obviously 1/0 Ward 1 or Anthem our board is great, especially when we're playing Hardened Scales. If we get to put a 1/1 counter on all of our humans, it basically turns it into 2 +1/+1 counters, which is just absolutely crazy. Thali's Lieutenant is quite an awesome card in this deck. And obviously the 2 copies of Get Lost there, just playing 2 removal spells that are just pretty good. So I have to mention, obviously, as well, these are the different arena variants of that, just so that way, if you're looking to build this deck on Arena, you know what the cards are. You don't have to go search it up, because I know it took me a minute to try to find some of the names when I was building this video. So overall, it was really, really easy. Also, shout out Scryfall for making this very easy to be able to find all the different variants, because when you look up the card on Scryfall, it'll automatically have a variant of it. It'll tell you the Omen Paths version. So huge shout out Scryfall for helping me with this video. So the next thing that we have to talk about here is the lands. We're playing 20 lands in this deck. We're basically playing a white weenie aggro deck, so we don't want to play too many lands, but We are playing 4 copies of Razorverge Thicket, 4 copies of Temple Garden, and 3 copies of Brushland as our main dual lands. We are also playing 2 copies of Cavern of Souls to beat those pesky control decks. We're also playing 2 copies of Secluded Courtyard. We're playing Secluded Courtyard literally just because of Miles Morales. Like, you know, we do need the red to be able to transform it or cast it on the other side. It's not something that's going to happen really often at all. It's going to be pretty rare that it does happen, but I at least wanted to give us the opportunity where if the situation comes up where we're going to have 6 mana and we can activate it, that we do have that option. So that's why we're playing the 2 copies of Secluded Courtyard, because we can activate an ability of the chosen type. So very, very important. Also worth noting, like Cavern of Souls, if we cast Miles Morales on the other side, Cavern of Souls does work, but if we transform it, we need the red. That's why we're playing Secluded Courtyard. But anyways, we're also playing 2 copies of Mutavault because it's a human and a spider, so that's why we're playing it. And then we are also playing 1 copy of Aganjo, 1 copy of Boseiju, and then the 1 basic Plains. And as our spicy basic land of the day, for those who didn't watch the previous deck tech, I talked about how, until further notice, all of my basic lands of the day are going to be featuring Elena Danner art, so obviously we're picking a Plains, and I really love this Plains. It originally started off as a Grand Prix promo land, and I remember getting those back in like 2018, 2019, but it's been reprinted a few times, most notably in the 2019 Commander deck. But this Plains is honestly really, really good. You can actually find a very nice high render of this series of basic lands online, so if you're interested in a good screensaver, you can definitely use this one. But anyways, really love this artwork. Huge shout out to Elena Danner. So the next thing we have to talk about is the sideboard for this deck. Spoiler alert, it's all white cards, because white has really good sideboard cards in the metagame, but if my sideboard looks a little bit different than yours, that's totally fine. This is just based off of what I'm personally running into at my local, weekly events as well as Magic Arena. But we are playing 3 copies of Seam Rip just because it's a very good removal spell on the stick. It's basically a portable hole, but, slightly harder to get rid of. We're also playing 2 copies of Deafening Silence, which is just really good against all these Spell Slinger decks. 3 copies of Rest in Peace beats up on all the graveyard decks. Then we're playing 2 copies of Brutal Cathar. I really love Brutal Cathar. I just couldn't find myself putting it in the main board, I guess, if that makes sense. It's not good in every matchup. Like some matchups it's very good. I mean, like half the time if our opponent is not playing a lot of removal, it's really hard for them to beat Brutal Cathar, but I'm just playing the 2 copies in the sideboard. We're also playing 2 copies of March of Otherworldly Light. I find this being a really good removal spell right now in the sideboard, just because, being able to answer an artifact, creature, or enchantment is pretty darn good. So that's why I really like March of Otherworldly Light. And then I'm playing 3 copies of Brave the Elements in the sideboard. I just couldn't find myself to put it in the main board. I find this card to be not necessarily underwhelming, but it feels like it's very tricky against a lot of the metagame. Half the time, it just feels like a protection spell that's situationally good, but, with how grindy the format is, half the time you draw this card and you only have, like, 1, maybe 2 creatures in play, and then, like, it just does absolutely nothing. So that's why I put the Brave the Elements in the sideboard. So the next thing that we have to talk about is the tips and strategy for this deck. I've just got 2 tips for you if you're looking to play this deck, and things that'll maybe help you understand the deck a little bit better, maybe understand priorities, but also just some good general tips. I've got 2 things I want to talk about. So the first one being, prioritize the scales, most notably hardened scales as well as Aunt May. We want to try to start growing all of our creatures really, really early. Obviously, I would say hardened scales is the better option just because, it's hard scales. We get to put 1/1 counters on all of our stuff. It's just really, really good. Please prioritize, being able to put a bunch of 1/1 counters on our creatures very, very early. It's extremely important in this deck. The other thing that I have to mention, and again, I love to mention this in decks where it matters for the most part. It matters in every deck, but especially so if you're looking to play Paper Magic, please remember your triggers. I get so frustrated when I go to F&M and I see all these people playing, like, all these really sweet cards with all these sweet, triggered abilities and such, and then players are just not remembering them. Like, we play Copper Code Vanguard in our deck because it gives our other humans ward. If you're not going to remember the ward trigger, why are we playing Copper Code Vanguard? Mary Jane Watson. If we're drawing cards when spiders enter the battlefield, of course we have to remember the draw trigger. Obviously in Arena, we remember all these triggers, right? But when we're playing Paper, just important to remember your triggers. It's so important. I've seen so many people, they go to, their first F&M and, they're going to win the game, but then they, they forget a really, really important trigger, and then all of a sudden they lose the game when they could have won the game. So just make sure you're remembering your triggers. Take your time, remember your triggers when they apply. So the last thing that we have to talk about is the budget options for this deck. It's pretty simple. We can swap Get Lost as well as some of the expensive lands like Cavern, Boseiju, and Temple Garden. But I'll be honest with you, with this deck, I really don't know what the Spider-Man prices are going to look like. So as of the recording of this video, we're still about like 2 weeks away from the release of Spider-Man. So we don't really know the true like prices of what these cards are going to be. I really don't know. You know, some of them could be expensive, some of them could be cheap. I think a lot of the uncommons are going to be pretty cheap. They're going to be like 25, 50-cent cards. But some of these, you know, like the mythics and some of the rares, I don't know what it's going to look like because I don't know how open the set is going to be at all. So that's why, like, I had the question mark for a lot of the prices because I don't really know what it's going to look like right now. But you can also just play regular humans. If some of the Spider-Man cards are too expensive, or even if you don't really like the Spider-Man cards that much, just play regular humans. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you could just play regular humans. It's a very good deck in the metagame, regardless if you play green-white or if you just play mono-white. Still very, very good options regardless. But yeah, this Spider-Man set is definitely very interesting. I feel like it's hard to find cards that synergize with the Spider-Man cards that are outside of the Spider-Man set, but I feel like we found a pretty happy medium here. Humans, we get to draw some cards, play some good established creatures from previous sets, and I think it worked out pretty good, but definitely let me know what you think in the comment section below on this deck. And that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Serwin Loki, Michael D, our premium channel member, The Common Cold, Jeremy P, BG Stilts, and Darren M. If you're interested in being a channel member, it starts at $1 a month, and you get access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and hope to catch you in the next one.